Welcome to our third edition of the AI Masterclass webinar series on supporting self-leadership. My name is Jukka. I'm a CSM and HR advisor here at Teamspective, and I'll be your host for this session. The agenda for today, we've got yet again a quite full agenda. Let's hope that we can make it in the next 45 minutes. Kicking things off with just a few points on self-leadership in this AI era. And then moving into actual concrete use cases using AI, using the new AI agent Leah in Teamspective. We've got two different parts. So part one, how do you lead yourself right now in your current role? And then part two, how do you lead your growth? So looking at a bit more longer trajectory on where you are going through and how the AI agent in Teamspective can help you there. And then having the Q&A at the end. I've also included a very short exercise at the end of part one and part two, so you'll be welcome to practice a few things on your own in Teamspective as well. I'll be sharing a couple of prompts into the chat, so do join the exercises if it seems interesting. Let's kick things off with a couple of thoughts on self-leadership, and especially now in the AI era. AI transformation is definitely moving on big time. I think it's a new world every day, every week. At least the AI tools are evolving super fast, and the world is definitely changing, and it feels that it's changing in a very fast and almost exponential way. I don't think we've seen this big of a change in the last 20 years since the kind of commercial internet was born. And here's some great figures from Deloitte's most recent global human capital trends, just indicating that how much is changing at the workplace. In their findings, in their research, 1 in 3 employees faced over 15 major work-related changes within the year. And that's a really big amount. So either your kind of full organization changing in a way, you moving into different teams, you losing a manager, you becoming a manager, or your ways of working, the tools that you use being fully changed, and you need to learn how to use new types of tools. And it's really hard for employees to keep up. It could be even harder for organizations to keep up. How do you manage change in this type of an environment? Do the classic change management practices still work? Creating communication packages, sharing them with employees, hosting trainings for your employees, for your managers. Are these feasible ways of operating in today's world? It might be that we still need them, but I think we also need to rethink things a bit further. And this is where AI agency comes into play. And with AI agency, I don't mean AI agents particularly, but I mean getting things done with AI, with the AI tooling you have available, making progress. And this is changing the way that people are, especially knowledge workers, how we are working today, and especially how we're going to be working next year or even tomorrow. And Microsoft had a really great finding in their work trend index, which was published, I think, last month. So according to their research, employees are actually learning and exploring faster than their organizations are able to keep up. And there was a really great infographic also in their report. Let me walk you through it quickly. So on the left-hand axis, you can see how the individual's capability is changing from a low to a high in using different AI tools and AI setups in their work, and then how the organization's readiness is changing in regards to using AI and generating kind of the business value out of their employees who are using AI tools and systems. And there's a small piece of employees and companies in the frontier section where things are really nicely aligned. Employees are really getting to be highly skilled in using different AI tools and setups, and also the company's strategy and goals, and also kind of business model is aligned with AI usage. But what's really striking is that there's also a lot of blocked agency. So individuals are actually becoming a lot quicker proficient in using AI tools than what their organization can actually keep up with. And my guess is that the big bunch of emergent or stalled employees, which you can see right here, a lot of them will actually be going to move into the blocked agency quadrant before they can then move into the frontier quadrant as their organizations keep up. And how does this relate to self-leadership? Well, as employees are starting to use more and more AI tools, configuring different systems and setups to take care of their work in the roles that they are in, and creating more and more business value, they will start to look into how can they use their HR tools via a kind of AI way or AI native way. And because people and individuals are progressing a lot faster, the way we support the employees, the way we kind of support their own self-leadership capabilities, we need to kind of also change our thinking there. Giving personal support by HR or even managers is starting to get a lot limited. People are advancing much more faster, and also time is a very scarce resource. And this is where really enabling self-leadership comes into play. So how do you create this AI agentic system which gives personal assistance to every employee? And this will require HR, for example, to think a lot on how do they develop the different models and practices and tools at their organization? How do they move into configuring the system, adding templates, instructions, files, guidelines, adding guardrails to how the system works, and then giving the access to the employees, to the managers, to use the agentic system themselves when they start to lead themselves more and more. So instead of employees asking their managers, asking their people partners at the organization, for example, for help, they will interact directly with the AI agent, who is actually configured really well in supporting the different use cases that they might have. And this leads us to how Teamspective has been now thinking about our AI agent and what it actually can already do today. And we'll be focusing on some very concrete use cases on how Teamspective's AI agent Leah supports self-leadership for every employee, for every manager. If you haven't met, I would like you to meet Leah. Leah is Teamspective's leadership enablement agent, and it's available for every manager, but also for every employee who is using Teamspective. It's a personalized agent. The more context it has been given about your company, the more personalized guidance it will also be able to give you. Leah works where you work, whether it's in Slack, in Teams, or whether you start to use Claude or Copilot or ChatGPT more and more in your work. Leah is available there as well. And Leah is not only there to answer your questions, to give you help in analyzing or understanding your engagement results or your feedback. Leah is there also to do actions in Teamspective on your behalf. So Leah can prepare your one-on-one agendas. It can store them for you and your manager, and it can book a meeting for you and your manager for, let's say, next week if you need to have a quick meeting. Leah can also create a development plan for you. Leah can review your old development plan and say what needs to maybe be taken into consideration when you create the new one. Leah can help you with drafting your goals and also saving them into Teamspective. And we're adding lots more capabilities all the time to Leah. It's an ongoing project for our team, and we really aspire to make this a very personal agent and assistant for every employee who is using Teamspective. I'll be going through the more concrete use cases as we move forward into part one. In this webinar, I'll be mostly demoing the content through slides, but just to give you an understanding of where you can find Leah, for example, I'll quickly show you where Leah is available in Teamspective. Here on the homepage, you can always find Leah readily available. You can start your conversation right here. It's also available here on the left-hand side, where you can move into discussing any topic you might have. Leah is also available in Slack directly. So the ones of you who use Slack, you can just start typing to the Teamspective application in Slack, and Leah will start to respond to you. And likewise in Teams as well. So I could ask, for example, how is my team doing from the Teamspective application in Teams, and then Leah will start to give me responses, and I can continue processing my workflow directly within Teams. Good. Let's move into part one. I think this is where it really gets exciting as we get to the concrete examples. I'll be going through a lot of different types of small examples via prompts, and then showing you kind of what the outcome could be. And then at the end of part one and part two, we'll be having a quick exercise where you can try this out yourself. I hope this gives you some inspiration on what you can use Leah for really right today. You don't need to wait for new developments to happen in the product, but they're available already now. Let's kick things off with leading yourself right now in this moment, and kind of answering the question, how do I perform now well? How do I stay aligned, manage my energy in this current role that I am in? And for part 1 and part 2, I'll be using this framework of reflection, setting direction, acting, and reviewing, and then I'll structure the different prompts and examples with this framework in mind. Let's start from the reflection part. First example. So as Leah and in Teamspective, you have collected a lot of information and data about yourself. You might have your one-on-one notes there. You might have your team notes documented in Teamspective. You have your engagement responses there as well. You have personal feedback, or you may have different types of documents. For example, your development plan documented into Teamspective. And Leah can access all of these. So Leah has access to what you have in Teamspective. And now I'm prompting Leah to kind of show me what are the patterns across this different kind of big bunch of different kinds of data that I have available there. And it gives you a really kind of right off the bat, one simple prompt, one sentence, and it gives you a really good first summary of what you could be looking into based on the data that Leah has available in the system. And now with the data that I used in our demo account, I can see that Leah made a couple of specific themes that were highlighted. So team effectiveness and support has been a clear pain point, something I should look into. Relationships, and then also role clarity and personal impact are somewhat unclear. And these are things that I should now be maybe looking into in regards to my current role that I'm in. Now, doing this in a bit more advanced way, so using the AI connector and working through Claude, for example, I could use the same exact prompt, but now ask Claude to also use some additional context from Slack messages I've been sending to my colleagues, or for example, I'm working in customer success to my customers, and also data from our CRM. And this is where it gets like even more interesting due to the additional context that Claude has access to. And Claude already gives a really good first summary on what's the thread that's connecting all of the different pain points that or the patterns that I'm seeing in the data. This is actually my own personal data, so something has been anonymized here. But for me personally, workload and scalability is the one that I should watch. Commercial mindset is a thing that I have as a theme for myself here at Teamspective. And then also there seems to be some asymmetry with the feedback that I'm receiving and the feedback that I would actually be wanting. And this immediately kind of gives me a lot of thoughts on what I should be starting to maybe do next and consider in my current role. If you're using Claude, I packaged this actually into a skill, and you can download that skill via the link here on the slide from the materials. If you also use Claude and want to test it out. Now moving to the setting direction part of the process. So how do we start to translate these patterns, this data, into some desired next steps? So reading the patterns, what should I now focus on within this quarter? Or we're at the end of Q2, so what should I focus on in, let's say, Q3? And again, you get a really good summary of what the focus areas could be for Q3. Scaling customer success for growth, workload and boundary management, and then commercial mindset development. These are also some of my personal items. It's based on my personal feedback. We're using Teamspective here at Teamspective ourselves, and this gives me a lot of kind of thinking. And now I could refine this together with Leah. Hey, I think number 1 is really good. Number 2 also sounds good. Let's reconsider number 3. Let's maybe only keep 2 priorities and work these into some more concrete goals for myself. But now I'm moving from looking at patterns, understanding what I could work on, to already setting a direction for myself. It's not my manager telling me to do something, but it's me thinking of what I could do, what I could work on myself. Here's another example of setting direction. So if I would already have my goals set, what should I actually focus on this month? So Leah already has access to what was my plan, what are my goals for the quarter. The quarter has started to progress. I've started to kind of work through things, but what actually I could now focus on in this month. Now we could, let's say, be already in Q3. I'm coming back from my summer holidays. What should be my August priorities? Giving me a good list what I should take on as some focus tasks immediately coming back from my vacation for week 3. And I can also ask Leah to create a couple of few additional tasks for myself into Teamspective. Helps me keep a touch on how to prioritize my work, and then moving into actually executing my goals and the plan that I had for the quarter. Now, once you have a good direction, you'll need to start acting and executing. So how do you actually get things done? Obviously, there's a lot of work items that you'll start checking off from your to-do list, working towards your goals. But then you're, let's say, midway through the quarter. What has the progress been? There's maybe something that's holding me back. I'm having my one-on-one with my manager, and they're a really good person in kind of removing some of the blockers that I have for my quarterly goals. So I could ask Leah to go through how I've progressed with my goals, and then also help me generate some talking points from my one-on-one conversation. One-on-ones are a classic situation which seem to be a de facto leadership tool that is suggested for all employees and managers, but most often they are executed really, really poorly. And the main reason for that is that people don't prepare for one-on-ones. And people don't prepare because people don't have time. But now I'm really telling you that you don't have any excuses anymore. Leah really helps you to prepare super fast. It has access to the data that you have available that you've stored into the system. It generated a list of first talking points in basically under a minute. You can refine these in 30 seconds, and you can ship this as the agenda for your conversation with your own manager. Now, if I were a manager, I could also do the same for the employees that I'm managing. Hey, there's some things that I really want to discuss with my employees. I have 5 team members. Can you help me prepare for 5 one-on-ones? And Leah can kind of start working through that task for you. Another more advanced example from Claude. One of my goals could be that if I want to kind of scale my impact in my current role, I need to use some more time in strategic development work. So does my calendar reflect that at the moment? What's the reality? I have a goal, but am I actually executing towards that goal? And this is also my personal data output from Claude, and actually really insightful information for me. If my goal is to use more time on strategic development work, well, currently about 6% of my time goes into strategic development work. It really tells me that, okay, my goal and my execution aren't really aligned at the moment. And there's something that I should figure out on how do I change my, for example, time management regarding this goal for myself. Putting a weekly recurring blocker into my calendar could be one solution for that. But Claude really kind of, because it has connections to the other apps that you're also using, it's able to really enrich the output for you. Now, here's another great example from Claude. As you're moving forward, you're working towards your goals. You're maybe coming to the end of the quarter, and it would be a really good time to gather some feedback on how the quarter has been going, how you've been working, for example, together with your colleagues, and who would be the best people to ask for feedback, considering what your goals are, what your role is, and how you've been interacting with your colleagues, for example, based on Slack and email interaction. And this was actually really insightful. Again, this is my personal data here. Annika, Anna just started here at Teamspective. I've been participating in their onboarding. So let's say after a few weeks, it would be really good for me to send a feedback request over to Anna and Annika. Was my input in your onboarding helpful or not? And I'll also be working quite a lot with Ian and Joachim from our product team. So they are great people that I could be asking for feedback. Something that Claude noted as a response, for example, Reko and Jose, also my colleagues that I work quite extensively with, they actually gave me feedback already in April. So Claude didn't mention them here on the list because they already gave me feedback a while ago. So maybe not the first ones to ask for feedback again. Cool. At the end of the process comes the review. How did things go? How were we able to progress during the quarter? And the prompt is to write your own progress reflection before your review happens. before HR asks you to do that, before your manager pings you the third time that, hey, what's the progress? What was the progress in Q2? And this is something that Leah also helps really nicely. So drafting what happened, you can either have it quarterly or from the beginning of the year, and then you can refine it together, and then you can send it over or store it as a document into Teamspective. Really good material then for your review discussion with your manager. And then if you're in the manager role and your employees have prepared these review documents, it's really easy for you to prepare for those discussions as well, because you can go through their reviews and form your own thoughts and opinions for the review yourself. Advanced version, again, in Claude, enriching the context information coming from other sources, other connectors like Slack, Gmail, CRM, and bundling everything into a Word document. Straight off the bat, something you can store in your HRIS or send over to your manager, or then directly ask Claude to store it into Teamspective. This is also a downloadable skill. Maybe Jukka can already share it into the chat. So if you're using Claude, you can ask Claude to save this as a skill for yourself, and it will produce a quarterly self-reflection on what you got done based on the information that Claude has access to, whether it's in Teamspective or then the other work applications that you're using. Let's move over to part 2. Now, looking a bit further into the future, not just your current role or the position you're in right now and helping you there, but leading you in what happens in a year or two at let's say your current company. What could be an interesting role for you to progress into? And we'll be using the same framework here, so reflection, setting direction, acting, and then reviewing progress. And now the overarching theme is, who are you trying to become, and are you actually building towards it? Again, let's start from reflecting. So what are the patterns that are showing up across the data? And now let's take a bit more longer time frame or perspective for the data and see if it emerges some larger overarching themes across let's say the past year. You could also extend this to the past 2 years, past 3 years, depending on how long you've been using Teamspective, how much you have data stored. But again, going through your feedback, engagement results, and one-on-one notes. What are your strengths and how could I build on them? And here's an example of the outputs that I got within our demo workspace. Leah highlights some of my core strengths based on the feedback I've been receiving, and also based on the engagement responses I've been sending in the surveys and what I've been discussing in the one-on-ones with my manager. Just reading a couple of outs here. So crisis leadership, calm under pressure, strategic communication, and strong work ethic, for example. Some of them might resonate a lot with how you view yourself, and then some might be quite surprising. You might uncover some blind spots in how others feel about who you are and how you personally consider who you are. Now, using these patterns to set the direction and taking the longer perspective in this situation, you could be very frank about what your ambition is, what your direction is. In the example prompt I've written, I want to grow into a lead role. Now, this can be whatever. So if you want to remain in an individual contributor role, you can, for example, ask Leah that, hey, I want to grow into a more senior IC role, for example. What paths do I have available? And I think this is where it starts to get a lot more interesting in the sense that it's quite often really hard to first understand what the different patterns are, what your strengths are there any blind spots, and then move into considering what could be your options within your current company, for example. But this is something that Leah can also assist you directly. And here in the example, Leah gives me a few suggested leadership growth paths within the company. In our demo environment, I'm a sales director at the moment. So path 1 could be a more strategic sales leadership position, like a VP of sales or head of sales. It also gives me a feasibility indicator on whether this could be a good fit based on the feedback I've been receiving. And then it also shows a couple of other paths. Here on the bottom, you can see that path 2 could be a general management or operations leadership position. And because you can give more context, this is to the admin participants, the HR participants listening to the webinar, you can give more context to Leah on what your company is, what kind of possibilities there are. So here are a few items that I would strongly suggest considering to give Leah as additional context. Do you have a leveling framework? Do you have some kind of defined job architecture or career path documentation? Are you using a specific skill framework, for example? If you would share this with Leah, give it the further context, it will be able to help your employees, your managers in the moment when they are pondering that, what could I be doing at my company next year or in the next 2 years? Would give them really precise information on what the possibilities could be, and then synthesizing everything with what the person has received as feedback or assessments, or what they've been discussing as their ambitions in their one-on-ones. And if you think about, in general, what's the best way on retaining great employees? Well, the solution is making it absolutely clear on what their role, what their impact could be next year, in 2 years, in 3 years. Now we've set a direction for ourselves. So Jukka wants to become a more senior sales leader. And then Jukka starts to go into planning some goals for himself for Q3 and Q4 and for next year. So how aligned are my business goals with my development ambitions? Very often these aren't very aligned. You have your development ambitions, you might have a development plan, but then the day-to-day quarterly goals, for example, they are a bit misaligned. So this is something you could explore together with Leah. Ask Leah to give you an alignment analysis on, these are your business goals for Q3, this is your development ambition or your development goals. What's the alignment? Is it very strong, or are there some gaps? Is there something you could consider for Q4's goal setting to make it more aligned with your development ambitions? Really important to align the development ambitions with what the person is actually working on in the day-to-day work. A more advanced example here, using Claude again. I have my direction, I have an ambition. Now, how could I practically move towards that ambition? What are the kinds of work or projects that I should need to take on if I would want to move into a, let's say, into a customer success lead role? And now in Claude, I'm also asking it to use Notion and Slack and Drive as some Google Drive as some more further context information. And the example here is again from my personal data that I have in Teamspective and also via Claude. So if I would want to move into a customer success lead position, the guidance that I get straight off the bat is owning net revenue retention as a portfolio number, not just documenting it into my account book, developing other CSMs who are joining the team. And then the third one here, right on the bottom, owning and the operating model and playbooks. Really concrete things that I could be taking onto my plate if I would have the ambition to move into a more of a leadership role. And I could feed these into my goal setting and ensure that, for example, my quarterly goals and what I'm working on would include these things, because that would ensure that I'm moving towards the development ambition that I have. Now, finally, we've established the development plan. We've been working through the next quarters. It's next year. And then I have a look at how I've been progressing during the past year. I wanted to go here. So how far am I now off? And what's actually been stalling my progress? And here again, Leah has the information available. There's the feedback, there's the assessments. It has your development plan if you've documented your goals there as well, and your one-on-ones. The context is really rich to give you a good analysis of how far you actually have been moving towards your development goal and what's stalling right now. What is something that you should be focusing on more if you want to move towards the direction that your ambition is. This was webinar 3 of the AI Masterclass series for this spring. We'll be coming back in H2, definitely. There's a few things here. So sharing more customer example use cases. We've been seeing some really exciting use cases that our customers have been building, how they've been kind of redesigning their processes to be more AI native. So having hopefully a couple of guest speakers here in our upcoming webinars. Leah Tooling will be updating a lot. So we'll be sharing about those updates in the next webinar series, and then also some more advanced AI connector use. So I hope this works as a great teaser for joining the webinars in H2 as well. If you've been really valuing Teamspective, if it's been helping you in your work, helping you lead either your team or lead yourself, we would really appreciate if you have the time to leave at least some kind of feedback or review at G2 so that other people could also discover Teamspective and take it into use at their workplace as well. Thank you for joining, and see you in August.